Thank you for turning to page 121. Welcome back to page 121. Today, in keeping with our Halloween theme, I'm going to do a little bit of terror in Traveler, specifically the article Just Like Magic from challenge number 46. This was one of Challenge's special horror issues, and it's my personal favorite. They did one or two others of these, but this is my favorite one. I'm going to go into a little bit about how you can introduce, quote, magic, unquote, to Traveler, and how you can put some terror into your game without actually taking yourself out of the science fiction milieu. So I'm going to go ahead and describe a little bit of the history of this particular issue, and then we're going to go through it. Okay, this particular issue of Challenge came out. It's number 46. It came out in the October-November 1990 issue. Challenge magazine at the time was bi-monthly. It would be bi-monthly for about another 4 issues. And so this came out in 1990, just before Halloween. And it features, the entire issue has horror theme for every article that's in here. For Mega Traveler, Twilight 2000, Shadowrun, Torg, even a Star Wars article on how to introduce horror and terror into your game. So I'm going to go ahead and open the magazine up a little bit, and we're going to talk about the particular issue or the particular article that I liked, Mega Traveler Just Like Magic by Charles E. Gannon. That's a familiar name to a lot of us. Okay, going into a little bit about the author of this article, Charles E. Gannon. He's a prolific writer for Traveler. He wrote a lot for Challenge Magazine. Some of his stuff was set in the Hinterworlds. He's also the author of the excellent Mega Traveler supplement, Hard Times, regarded by a lot of people as kind of a Mega Traveler 1.5. A good place to run your own campaign. I'm a big fan of Hard Times. He's also written a lot of other Traveler stuff. He's a very good writer. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the issue itself. Coming into here, neat little ad for Mega Traveler by Digest Group Publications. And then we get to the article itself. Just Like Magic. Let's get that out of the way. And as you can see, a nice little illustration that wouldn't be out of place in a D&D book. The idea behind this was the science of magic, the Arthur Clarke axiom that any science sufficiently advanced to the culture it's presented to would appear to be magic. The idea behind this article is that there is no magic in Mega Traveler, and by the way, I'm a strong adherent of that. I do not ever include any kind of magic in Mega Traveler or Traveler. The idea here is that the appearance of magic can be made to happen through the use of psionics. 40K has a kind of a similar thing. Psionics and magic get a little confused in there. But the idea behind this article was if you're on a low-tech world, perhaps a 0 or a 1 on the tech level, there might be some reason that you need to go into the outback and deal with a situation where there's an evil wizard who is befuddling the people you work for, and you have to go in and deal with it. So the idea behind this is you don't tell the players that it's a terror game. You don't want them to know that it's got a horror theme. You drop down the tech as much as you can, but through local prohibitions and that sort of thing. So in other words, as they pass out into the planet itself from the starport, anything above tech level 1 is not allowed. So the player characters are actually wandering around in this article with bows and arrows and swords. And the fun is, of course, they're scoffing about this guy being a witch or a wizard, because there is no such thing. And then they start encountering some stuff that maybe he is. So the article goes on to discuss how you would simulate magic in Traveler. And how you do it is actually pretty ingenious. In Traveler, psionics are common in a lot of races, almost all the races, and humanity is no exception. And there are natural born psionicists. So the idea behind the article is the psionicist has found that he has a power that sets him apart from other humanity. So he decides to exploit it, take advantage of it. Maybe he's going to become a warlord or just a wizard or advisor to somebody important. Any of the D&D tropes actually drop in beautifully here for this story. And then the article further goes on to expand on how you could use the different classes or schools of psionics to appear to be magical. So, for instance, telepaths, you can read somebody's mind and, they think it's magical. Clairvoyance, you can see something you weren't actually present to see. Telekinetics, of course, that's simulating a poltergeist or a ghost. Oh my gosh, look, it's floating through the air. Any kind of teleportation or precognition. Any of these can be used to really freak out an audience that has no idea what psionics are. And then the article goes on to discuss the pharmacopoeia that might be at this guy's hands. Being one of the leading people into unusual things, by the logic of the article, follows that they would start experimenting a little bit with pharmaceuticals to see if they could improve their psionic abilities, if they could change the behaviors of creatures around them. The idea here is that they would find some natural pharmacology that would allow them to do things like have psi drugs, fast and slow drugs, combat drugs, psychotropic, mood-altering drugs, and poisons and neurotoxins. All this, again, this is all stuff that could easily be in a D&D game. So the idea behind this is you go ahead and you set the players up for a traveler game, and they're having a normal traveler adventure, and suddenly they find themselves in maybe a haunted castle, and they're having to deal with all natural, scientifically explainable things that seem magical at the time and seem horrific at the time. The Star Trek episode in the second season, Cat's Paw, goes into this quite a bit, where Kirk and company are in a haunted castle, imprisoned in a dungeon. A couple of the crew members are turned into zombies, all through basically psionics and technology. So the other thing, he goes a little bit further in, so you could have familiars, which is, fondness for pets. You could have some type of familiar that maybe he's got a telepathic bond with, or followers, just fighter type people that he's hired to work for him, guard his castle. He wouldn't want to attract necessarily people who are really smart, because he wants to be the smartest guy in the room, so they can't learn his secrets and possibly take away at least some of them. And then the other thing he touched on in the article here is with a wave of my magic wand. In other words, he gets hands on some higher tech that anybody else in the area knows about. Holographic projection would be a great one. Even a slug throwing pistol at a tech level 1 society would seem to be magical and would scare the heck out of everybody. So the idea is you keep the player characters off balance, you keep them wondering, but you also keep it grounded completely in science and natural law. What I love about this article. Does it very well, gives you some great tips to run a game. Later in the same issue, we are looking for the Adrienne, which is a lost derelict ship that may or may not be haunted. You don't know. Now, this is where Traveler's science of jump space comes in a little bit. The ship is found coming out of jump, and it may or may not have jump sickness. It may not be affecting the minds of the people who are dealing with the ship, as opposed to actually being haunted. And the idea of this article is you kind of leave them guessing. You leave it as a mystery. You're not really sure if the thing is haunted or if it's all just an effect of the mind with jump space. Okay, next article in this. There were 3 Traveler articles in this one, and this is Fated Voyage. Same kind of thing. A cursed ship, cursed during its time in service, gets lost. The players find it as a derelict, go aboard it, and strange things happen. Again, is it haunted? Is this a psionic residue that's left behind by evil deeds perpetrated aboard the ship? You don't know. You can explain it if you want, or you can leave it as a mystery if you want. It's really nice the way it's presented. As I said, the rest of the issue goes into other games. Twilight 2000. There's a nice little ad for Combat Interstellar Elite. Don't know what that is. Game you could have gotten in 1990, I'm guessing. Just having a contagious outbreak, and they have Twilight 2000, 2300 AD. The other thing I want to show that I thought was really appropriate for this issue, Challenge almost always did reviews. This particular issue, they did a review of the AD&D supplement Ravenloft. I did a video on Ravenloft not too long ago. I thought it was pretty neat that they did a review here. And to cut to the chase, yes, the reviewer enjoyed Ravenloft. Thought it was a worthy addition. So there you have it. The only other thing I want to show in the back here is this is the equivalent of the internet back in 1990. Personal ads. They used to do classified, not personal ads, I'm sorry, classifieds. They used to do classifieds for free at the end, the issues of Challenge, and you could post up looking for players, items you had for sale or trade, items you were looking for, or fanzines that you were promoting. And it was free, and you just had to basically keep it clean, and then it was in at their convenience if they had enough room for it. But I thought it was a pretty neat addition. And actually, there were listings for hobby stores too, and I found several hobby stores in my area that I wouldn't have found otherwise in the back of Challenge magazine. So there you have it. A neat little ad for Mega Travelers by GDW. There you have it, the horror issue of Challenge magazine, just in time for Halloween. I just want to touch on one other thing, the Halloween type game somebody could run. I personally don't consider Aliens to be Halloween themed, but a lot of people do these days. So in that regard, I once ran a Traveler game a few years ago where the player characters entered jump space, all seemed normal, and then they realized they had found, or there was a leathery egg in their cargo hold that they didn't know was there. How it was placed there, I forget the exact mechanism I used, but it was somebody that was smuggling it aboard. And it turns out, of course, to be a xenomorph, one of the aliens from Alien. I had 5 player characters in that game and 13 non-player character crew members / passengers. And this alien was doing what the original Alien did in the first movie. It was just eating. So I didn't do any hibernations or any cocooning or anything like that. It was a lot of fun. I got 2 of the player characters and several of the NPCs before they finally brought the xenomorph down with a great deal of damage to the ship and some question as to whether they could safely emerge from jump space or not. But they did, and all was well after massive repairs. So just another idea for horror that can be used at any time of the year. But like I said, some people do find Alien to be a Halloween-themed thing for them. So they, to each their own. So that's it for this episode of Page 121. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Well, that closes the book on another episode of Page 121. Please leave your comments below, and if you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.